the country now confronted with all these number of difficulties economically that seem to be truncating the perceived way Ghanaians thought they could have enjoyed their livelihoods. Do you think we could have done something better than we're doing?
Of course, we could have done something better. You could, in every situation, you could always have done better. Don't forget that in Britain and America, they had the Depression in the 20s. Horrific. I mean, you know, and every
between 20s and 30s, actually.
Yeah, 20s and 30s. I mean, it was 20s and 30s, right up to even up to the 1940s. The war changed the situation naturally with the, you know, but the Great Depression, you know, farms failed and people committed suicide and all that. And
stock exchanges failed.
Everything,
War crashes.
You know, I hope that we don't get to that, and I don't think we're getting to that. But the thing is that it opens the way for civil action, for people on the ground to say, no, enough is enough, we're going to do this and all that. They may not be right, but the thing is that it is their right to do so. We're looking at these demos and we're looking at these strikes. I'm a social democrat, and socialism came from that kind of groundswell, the groundswell of the people. So I can't criticize them for wanting to demonstrate. But the thing is that sometimes you've got to say, look, come on guys, be circumspect. The situation will not be resolved by demos and will not be resolved by strikes, because it will harm the firmament. All right, they may disagree, but the thing is that they have a right to do so. You understand? We then have a right to react in a positive way, to allay their fears and to reassure them, to create a credible avenue, all right, for the resolution of the issues at stake.
Okay, so critically now, the president keeps telling us that we need to be more optimistic than we have been.
Yes.
Efforts are being made by his finance minister and the Bank of Ghana, etc., to make sure things are ongoing. Do you think that perhaps Ghanaians are impatient?
Of course they're impatient. When I was coming here, I heard you talk about the road, the Dansoman Road.
I'll ask you about that. Don't preempt my question.
I'm sorry then, but it's that when something is in motion, when you've got a project in motion and the project is not finished or the project hasn't come to an end, people then want to see the end of the project. You understand? They want to see that this is done, and you keep on reassuring them. They don't really believe you because if they do not see the building blocks, you know, being put into place, then they're worried, and that's the problem. And the president is trying to reassure that he's eager, he's capable, and he wants to do it, and that is what is important.
But you do know that the president and your party, you don't have the time.
No, we don't have the time, but well, you say we don't have the time. We're working to it, and we're hoping, we are very optimistic that come the turn of the year, things are going to change when most of the things that we have put into place actually slot in, click, and we're okay.
That's a politician talking there.
And that's a politician talking, and that's a Ghanaian talking.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this part about all the promises that your government gave the people, whether on the political platforms, in your manifesto, in all the speeches that the president and his ministers have given, with their interactions with the Ghanaian public. If they hold your government by the neck following all those promises, are they wrong?
They're not wrong at all. That's what I'm saying. They're not wrong at all. We are saying that give us a time. By the end of the 4 years, we would have fulfilled most of our manifesto. It is up to you to believe it. That is the reassurance that I have. That is the optimism I have as an insider. And I'm saying to the outsiders, look, we're working very, very hard. I know, you know, when I go on the social media and what I hear from people about the total corrupt, we're all corrupt and we're all this and we're all that and all that. Well, 3/4 of us, if not all, are working very, very hard. They say yes, the parliamentarians are working very, very hard. I haven't been able to spend a weekend with my family for the last 4 or 5 months because I've been working or going on workshops.
Do you have your family in Ghana?
I have a family in Ghana. I'm very much you know, I have a family in Ghana. Most of my family's in Ghana. What I'm trying to say is that you know, weekends I'm not with my wife.
You mean you're busy all the time?
All the
That's
time,
what you want to say.
And you know, 6:30 I'm supposed to be in the office. I always say that.
But once you've taken politics as your career, then that's a risk.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. That you've got to work. And most of the guys I work with, the parliamentarians I work with, we don't sit down and talk about women and drink and all that. We talk about, hey, how do I get this, you know, the guys, I want this road done. How do I get, look, I've got to see the minister, I've got to get electricity to this particular village and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of work being done. In the plenary, yes, you see us grandstanding and playing to the gallery and all that. That is a natural human reaction when you're in the public eye. But back there, when we're having our committee meetings, we're working very, very hard.
Okay. Yeah. When you were a member of parliament for the other constituent, was it any Abliku?
I was Abliku myself, but the thing is that they split it. And what
the topography has changed in terms of what.
So Dansuman is not in my constituency.
But it used to be part of your
constituency. Yes, it used to be part
before
of
2012.
2012, okay. Yes.
And there was that road.
Yes.
It took you some time to get it all done, even though, of course, you were not the minister of roads.
No, but I caught hell. I caught hell. It was unbelievable. I mean, the thing is that the road was being built, and it was being built on the Ghana of government sort of, you know,
a GOG funded
project. So it was very difficult. You know, payable when able, and the contractor was doing his best. But anytime he wasn't paid enough, he would stop work. And then the thing is that the dust, and then you know, it was a built-up area that was already been. Then you were recarving the road and everything, and gutters and flooding. And one time I was in a conference in ITU conference in Geneva when I heard it had rained and flooded, so I had to leave the conference and come back to Accra to do to meet the people. And I mean, in your face, people told me what they thought of me and as a useless guy and all that. You had to take it. But I was telling them the road would get finished, the road would get finished, the road would get finished, and the road got finished.
And now nobody.
Yeah, even before I left, and people say, "Oh yeah, you know."
How do you juxtapose that very scenario?
Yeah.
You had in a country like your constituency,
yes,
and you take a country like Ghana,
yeah,
and all these that the president is facing. You put yourself in the president's shoes. You think when all these difficulties are over, Ghanaians will forget?
Human beings do not forget.
Okay, look, human beings. Let's not necessarily say
we're talking about doomsor. It's east, right? I mean, people are saying it's our damn right to have light. So if you solve doomsor, you haven't done anything. If you've built the road, you haven't done anything. You understand? Most people would want to say that, oh, I can get up today and not think about how I'm going to pay my son's school fees, how I'm going to put food on the table because I'm getting enough. You understand? That is the crux of the matter with human beings. Everywhere, I mean, I read a lot and I listen to the news and I talk to people about what is happening in America, is happening in Britain and all that kind of thing. The infrastructural development is very, very, very key. To the people in the urban areas, hey, it's all right. So therefore, if you've done it, don't clap. You understand? Do more. You understand? So it's a do more syndrome.
All right. Yeah. This professor, I think he's always lecturing in various universities and advising the World Bank, etc. Professor Jeffrey Sachs.
Yes, I know. Who's working in tandem with the Poverty Reduction Committee of Parliament.
Okay. Yeah. He wrote a book, The Price of Civilization.
Yes.
And he gave a preface about how capitalism was said to have been the in thing for America, and so America thought the rest of the world should have it. And now, following the credit crunch and the bailouts by government, he thought that now even governments around the world need to take their essence and their existence more seriously. Do we think that perhaps we take things for granted in our part of the world?
Well, the thing is that
because we have a growing democracy, politicians seem to think that, well, they are the people who make things tick, and so they can do whatever they want.
No, I think that's a wrong premise. The thing is that Ghana, we embraced a certain system, which is a decentralization, and I don't think we've taken our decentralization system seriously. If district assemblies and metropolitan assemblies and municipal assemblies are still concentrating on the district assembly common fund instead of raising funds for themselves or coming up with ingenious ways of raising money. I wonder how many people pay their house rates. I wonder how the revenue collection, how it's done. I mean, you build a road, for example. We build roads in my constituency, certain parts of my constituency. At night you can't drive through those roads because people are using those roads as a parking spaces. So therefore on both sides, so you have to maneuver. And these roads were not there before. They're supposed to be motorable roads, passable roads, you know, and all that, thoroughfares. But that's not what's happening. Are we going to charge people? You know, in America, you know, you've got the motor parking meters and all that kind of
what's happening is that the EMA will be doing that project.
No,
I work for a company and we're doing a project.
Yeah, I said, yeah, but I'm just saying, that's another aspect of revenue. We've not been inventive in raising ingenious, yes, to raise revenue, and it puts a lot of pressure on central government. Everybody's talking about President Mahama. When there are district chief executives there, where there are members of parliament there, where there are assemblymen there, they're all there, and it is a problem. But in the rest of the world, the advanced world, the local councils, the mayors are responsible for certain things. There are federal highways in the United States. There are national highways in Britain. But the local roads and all those things are usually within the remit of the district assemblies. And we have to look at our governance system and take people to task in every aspect. It shouldn't be only President Mahama. You understand? It shouldn't be only the ministers. The assemblymen have got to this. And then we also have, because they sit in assembly. They sit down and they carve out rules and carve out projects and things like that. Another departure is that I also believe that the National Development Planning Commission should have more teeth. All right, that no development project should be undertaken unless with reference to them, so that it can be synced into the national development plan. You understand? If you build a road and that road will not impact on the nation, then you're not doing anything. You understand? It has to impact on the nation. It has to be part of the symmetry of government.
When Ablek myself had Dansuma assets by you, of course, as MP, that road, and the difficulties. There were even some near-point appraisals during some periods of your reign. So we had near demonstrations. Now we're having all these demonstrations about roads, etc., and there's even going to be a national demonstration being convened by the TUC on Thursday. What do you make of all these? You think that these sectional representations in our society are also impatient?
Yes, I think that I'm very sorry. I don't think that we're nationalistic enough.
Meaning what? People need to sacrifice beyond what they are doing.
No. I think that we're a little parochial. I mean, for example, the president makes changes and then people get up and say, "Oh, why have you sacked this man from my village?" and all that kind of thing. That is wrong. I mean, if we look at the scheme of things, it's wrong. I mean, if the president says it's within his powers to say, "Look, I'm changing my ministers." When he was changing us, he didn't say, "Fritz Bafo, you were a useless information minister." He said, "You've done your bit, thank you. I need to put another person there." Fine, I just do it because I knew I was a member of parliament and I had a lot of work to do in my constituency. I knew I had a lot of work to do for my country in other ways. You understand what I'm saying? But we're very parochial. Why our village, if our village, no, we won't vote, we won't do this, we won't do that. We have to use the proper avenues. For example, just recently, I think it was yesterday, I got a call from a community within my constituency who were concerned about the lack of development, roads. They had road problems and everything. And they said they wanted to see me. And I said, of course. So we've set up a meeting, and I'll meet with them. I'll sit with them. I'll listen to what they have to say. If I can help, I will tell them how I can help, or how they can go about it to get a resolution to whatever they want. It's an avenue to use. If they just got up and said, "Oh, we don't see our MP," and they've not attempted to see me, and they go on that's wrong. You understand? Because if they haven't used the avenue, people say, "Oh, we don't see you." Don't see me. The thing is that I made it plain that I have an office in the constituency and I'm present in the office. If you want to see me, come to see me. I can't.
So if you're not in parliament, you're in your office?
Yeah, I'm in my office, yes.
Okay. Yeah. How does it work that government is supposed to pay into different accounts, statutory payments, and you don't go through?
Yeah, it's
just the last 24 to 48 hours, the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools said they've not had their remittances or their allocations for the last 3 terms. Before basic schools would break, some schools in some regions, the teachers had to write the terminal examinations on the board. We have problem with polytechnic teachers who are crying foul. We have various allocations that need to be given to district assemblies that haven't been made, etc. Well, you can say those are good excuses, right?
Of course. I'm just saying the major challenge of government now is to
Raise revenue
and give it to the statutory funds. We in Parliament are victims of that.
You are?
Yes.
So you know how it is?
Yeah, I know how it is, and I know how difficult
So if your membership is also growing impatient,
yes,
how do you expect the ordinary citizen not to grow impatient?
I've never argued against that point. I said, yes, they have every right to demand.
You say it's wrong?
Yes. No. I'm not talking about, I said it's wrong if you haven't gone through the avenues. I'm not talking about, yes, no, okay. But I'm just saying the methodology for addressing these problems can be from Giorgio, not war. But I'm saying that at this precise moment in time, the major challenge to the finances and the exchequer of Ghana is the ability to pay our statutory funds. We're struggling. So the government itself has said that we're going to raise the Eurobond, we're going to go borrowing again in order to be able to settle that, because it's a transitional period. We've just had the whatever they call it, the single spine, which has created a bit of a rupture in the way we do things, and we're trying to rectify it. So during that period, naturally, we're going to have all these problems and concerns. But at the end of it all, once we've used the means in which we want to resolve it, and it has come to fruition, then these things will stop. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What do you make of the TUC's demonstration that will take place on Thursday? The police say they can't give they can't give them all the protection they can get,
yes.
But they claim that they'll go ahead all the same.
Well, if it's not illegal, I don't have any objection to it. Though I've said that the TUC have access to government and should have been able to talk to government. But if they are so inclined, so long as it doesn't create violence, it doesn't end in violence or in mayhem, I have no objection to it.
Do you know that when they convene that very mass demonstration, or so to speak, sit out of work and not work for the day, it will make your government more unpopular? Well,
it will make our government more unpopular. We've got to take it on the chin and stand up. It's not the falling down that is the problem, it's standing up. The thing is that every government in Ghana will come across that kind of action.
You're predicting doom for every government?
I'm not predicting doom.
What about what the economists say, that if the right policies are taken, and so we have the structures of the economy...
who is there to tell us what the right policies are? The thing is that policies are basically originally theoretical projections. We've embarked on certain policies, but we have a challenge. We have a challenge where we have a very, very, very high public we have a high public expenditure in terms of salaries, which has eaten into what we would have used to do the infrastructural development. Some people are saying, hey, you've paid these people more, you haven't paid us, and all that kind of thing. It's a question, it's a challenge that we've got to deal with, all right? This is a reaction from those who feel that they've been victimized. They're going on a strike. But we have got to sit down and say, look, this strike is not good for us. This strike will make us unpopular. So let's deal with it. Let's look at the resolution, how we'll resolve it. We're asking people, look, don't go on strike. Take your time, be patient. We'll resolve it. Because our attitude is about solutions, you understand? And if you say, look, we can't wait for your solutions, then so be it. But we have to accept that, all right, so be it. If you go on strike, we'll still continue to get a solution and resolution of the issues. That's what's important.
You seem to be very adamant.
I'm adamant about it because the thing is that, look, it's my country. I'm here too. You understand? I don't have a generator in the house. I don't have, when water doesn't come.
Well, perhaps because you are a politician who wants to set an example.
Of course I'll set an example, but the thing, I don't think it's fair that the lights will go off and then in my constituency or in my community, and then I'm the only one with light. No.
I guess you're one in over 200.
No, I won't say that. That is not fair because, I mean, I know how the others sacrifice on both sides. I know how they sacrifice. There's some grand people out there, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get to the point about the current state of the economy and what the TUC is doing. Do you think that proactively, anybody who was in an appointed authority in government responsible for dialoguing and deliberations with unionized labor, etc., could have been more preemptive and proactive about it, and even prevented this?
Let me tell you something. The last Minister for Labour and Employment was a trade unionist, Samuel Niashte, a first-class trade unionist, and got very, very good relations with the trade unions. I don't know, but the thing is that I don't think that with a man of his experience would not want to talk to his own people, because that's where he came from. And even, I mean, he's a friend of mine, and when I talk to him, he's a very adamant trade unionist. So it's just a question of the mindset, whether the mindsets are gelling. If they don't gel, there's nothing you can do about it. Except that you have to know that at the end of it all, you've got to resolve the issues.
It's a bad time to be a politician then, is it?
Oh, it's always a bad time to be a politician. When is it a good time to be a politician? If things are good and you're enjoying too much. If things are bad and they see that at least you're skipping you're
all the accusations that people tend to speculate about.
Yeah.
That you, the politicians, you get the best picks. As far as emoluments and salaries are concerned.
I see.
You have the best enjoyment of your livelihood.
Oh, really?
Comparable to sections of the Ghanaian demographic population. I'm not saying that. That's what it's. What goes into your mind when you hear
I think it's a misconception, because I think that in terms of the quality of life and standard of life that I had before I went into politics, no, it isn't so. But the thing is, I would not have been happy if I didn't go into politics. I had to give something back. So it's not a question of the emoluments, it's not a question of what you have or what you don't have. It's a question of the fact that you want to serve your people, and you have to do it. And I'm not the only one. The 275, I cannot say that they are not part and parcel of it. When I sit down with them and I talk to them, I realize so. And when I talk to assemblymen, I talk to people in government. The thing is that we have to have a far better workable system when we're talking about, as I talked about, decentralization, and we have to be even more focused on exactly what we want in this country. That's the thing.
Do you think that if another government took the reins, so let's say the MPP took over the reins after 2016, they'll have the same difficulties that you had?
Yeah, naturally, I'm not saying that. I can't forecast. I'm not a soothsayer. But the thing is that because we are a developing nation, and because we have certain challenges that are inherent with a developing nation, then they will also have various crosses to bear. They may be different from ours.
Okay, we'll have to take a break. We've been speaking to Fritz Baffo, Member of Parliament for Ablekuma South constituency. You're also a member of the committee in Parliament, Defence and what?
I'm the chairman of the Defence and Interior, and I'm also a member of the Gender and Children committee in Parliament.
The former we'll talk about, because as the chairman of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament, you should be worried about the ongoing strikes. You'll be joined by a colleague member of Parliament, Seth Ichampong, is a member of Parliament for Impraiso. He's also a member of the MPP. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll invite Seth into the discussions. In the Impraiso constituency, it's Seth Ichampong. He's also a member of the MPP. He's joined us for the discussions. There will be demonstrations on Thursday for your political party, the MPP, because you're in opposition. And even you want government to be out of office, well, if by 2016 you're in office, that is. That's a good thing for you.
Not necessarily.
Meaning what? There's chaos. Government is unpopular. You should be happy.
Yes, government is unpopular. However, I don't think the status quo needs to be destabilized. In terms of the unrest, it is a security threat, and we ought to be up and doing. We have to be responsible. We need to appreciate the fact that we are in difficult times, and I don't begrudge the demonstrators for a second. But we must do it in...
So you support them?
Certainly, but we must do them in an ambience of collegial, where we can get together, sit and dialogue, and see what.
So you think dialogue is the key?
Of course, I believe in dialoguing, because that is the only way we can enhance and deepen our democracy. If we do not adopt such measures, we would not be.
What about the inquisition from the public that, well, it depends on which section of the public, that is, which section the public is on, as far as the political divide is concerned.
Right.
That because incessantly you have always made government unpopular, hosting press conferences or convening press conferences, making utterances on radio and TV, etc., or in other sections of the media, Well, what would you then conclude when organized labor has now formed a level of conclusion to the point where they will now hit the street, not for monetary gains, but just to question the standard of living and the state of the economy and the way they are living? That's very much unpardonable and very much unconservative as far as we're concerned. A point by which you need to demonstrate it.
Let me come in here. We need to appreciate we're on a path. I don't think the organized labor just overnight decided to hit the streets. That's what I said. I believe in dialoguing. I believe that we have to go back to the table and dialogue. However, we have offered ourselves certain rules and regulations and practices and conventions which, if we believe it is all work and no play, I see it in a similar fashion. Okay, we've sat around the table, members think they need to get out there and then demonstrate. You can't stop them. It is their fundamental rights enshrined in our constitution, and they have to get out there. But come back to the subject. The subject is that, yes, organized labor over the period have been advocating and then espousing viewpoints. I know for a fact that as a result of these consistent meetings, measures like the Senchi came up. I'm sure organized labor had input into it. It's as a result of bringing everybody around the table to appreciate what the difficulty, what the challenge is. And that is what I am more concerned in helping resolve. Helping resolve, because not necessarily because I'm in opposition, I'm in government as well. I'm in the legislature, and I'm an arm of government. And if government fails, I have failed. And so I must ensure that the right things are done. If we hold press conferences, we do not just hold press conferences because we want to make government unpopular, but we want to cause government to appreciate that there are other segments of the society who are not in tune and in sync with what
you think government is not listening?
Not necessarily.
Government has consistently said they are implementing policies. So why don't you take your time and have the patience?
Implementing policies with human. You know, the most difficult job is to manage people. And so if you are implementing policies for people and the policies are not working, you then need to go back and recheck. Or
you think government is not doing that?
Oh, not necessarily not rechecking. I think government is doing its best. So far, it's doing its best. Its best necessarily may not be what people expect of them. People expect higher. The expectations are high. The stakes are high. Okay. That is why, if you care to advert your minds to, the president is calling for his subordinates, his appointees, to roll up their sleeves and get to work. There's no sweet talk anymore. It's about actionary. It's about ensuring that the office that you've been put into, you go to work, you do the work, you walk the talk. That is what the president is asking his subordinates to do. And for me, yes, I believe this is the time to demonstrate it. For instance, we've been saying it in a way that if you're elected into office, you have a honeymoon of your first session or your first year in office to make sure you align yourself with the systems. Then you get going. Then
why are you giving the president pressure then? It's only the second year of his first term, and even just the first 2 quarters. And already there's pressure all over. The media is giving him pressure. His own political party, they're giving him pressure. You are giving him pressure as an opposition.
Thank you for
the trade union congresses.
Thank you for answering my question for me. You asked me why are we giving him pressure. I don't think we are the only stakeholders offering government the pressure. It is how we all feel as a nation state. So everybody is crying out loud there that this is not our nation state. We want our nation state in a particular manner, in a form that we all will believe and would want to pride ourselves that this is our nation state. That is why everybody is crying out loud. That do not mean that we hate government or we are just necessarily chastising government, but we want government to stand up to its toes. Ghana has dignity. Ghana has its prominence in the Committee of Nations. So if anything is going wrong in Ghana and we are part of it, we must sit up and stand up and speak to the issues. That is why we speak to the issues. We do not speak to the issues in the negative sense. We speak to the issues in the positive sense. So that it is not all that we say that government will take or government may be able to take. Some he will be able to do. And we make progress.
Mr. Bafo, if you look at the concerns of the Trade Union Congress, it seems a bit very unconventional to be demonstrating only on economic reasons and not necessarily because your emoluments are not apt or not being paid.
Yeah, but definitely.
You should tell government something.
Yeah, you should tell government something. I think government has addressed it. That they are listening. For instance, the midterm review came to Parliament with I think that we realized that, and what I want to say is that the job of the minority is to keep us on our toes. The job of the minority is to monitor and evaluate us and tell us that we feel that you're going wrong. We may disagree on the economic path that we're taking. For example, the Chinese loan at a certain time when it was coming out, you know, the minority was up against it.
Well, they told you wouldn't listen.
Well, the thing is not a question of listening. The question is that our determination and maybe the credibility of our discourse with the Chinese. I mean, we thought it was all right, and then we realized that no, under the circumstances, it may not have been. And we're not the first to have been able to retract or something. I mean, other governments have done it, but I'm just saying that the job of the minority is to do that. So when they have their press conferences, I mean, it's good for us to listen to the meters of what they are talking about.
Well, so far, until now, it didn't seem like you were listening to anything.
No, the thing is that if we're listening, we won't come out and tell you it's politics. We won't come out and tell you that, oh, we're listening. And we'll listen.
You were?
Yeah, well,
let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Why is it that when a political party is in government, forms the executive, it's very distrustful of the opposition?
No,
Same to when the opposition is out of government, now in opposition is very distrustful of government.
It is the perception. The perception, because that is what is out there. You are MPP, we are NDC.
So I'm perceiving wrongly?
No. The thing is that is the picture that is out there. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of work being done. Otherwise,
you do work?
Of course,
okay, let me tell you something. Some few months ago, Dr. Bawumia, who was vice presidential candidate of the NPP, well, he was a frontline person in a lecture which was broadcast nationwide. And he enumerated something that is a public document now, a public audio visual now.
That's right.
Everybody can see, pinpoint from the point he raised, that really, if we had had hindsight and taken lessons, perhaps we would have been having more grievous difficulties with the economy like we're having now.
Well,
does it look like a government who wants to listen?
No, listen, take it easy. When Dr. Bawumia gave his lecture, all right, I talked to people who were in the know within our system, who agreed with him. Those people very rarely would come out on the stage and talk about it. He's made some points. Setekwe, listen.
He did?
No. I'm just saying that if he made some points, we'll tell Setekwe, what do you think about this situation? I would come on, I wouldn't say I went and talked to Setekwe. You understand what I'm saying? At the end of it all, when Kwesi Botwe came out with his lecture...
Now it's too late in the day, right?
No, it wasn't too late. No, it's never too late in the day. The thing is that he did acknowledge the substance of Dr. Bawumia's thing. It's not a question of MPP and NDC. It's a question of working. You understand? And the thing is that we have degrees of importance and degrees of what we can say. All right, we'll discount him for the moment and concentrate on this for the moment. Everybody has their methodology. That's the thing. What I'm trying to say is that we always look at very negative and black practices when we're dealing with each other. When it's a question, it's not. But that is not so. We have to work together. You understand? If we didn't work together, Parliament would have imploded. I mean, we wouldn't be talking to each other.
Do you think that following that very lecture by Dr. Bawumia, the government listened?
You see,
be sincere.
No.
Don't try to embellish what you want.
This is my colleague, and back in Parliament, he's exhibiting what we do in Parliament. You see, there are two sides of the equation.
He's one politician of a kind, I can tell you.
Not necessarily just going after that description of him, because he's my uncle. All right? The beauty of it is this. Back in Parliament, like he said, we do a lot of things. That is ensuring, because whether we like it or not, we've sworn an oath to ensure that the state remains positive. Beyond that, there is another arm of government, that is the executive arm of government. What the executive arm of government does is not what we do not control that.
Well,
so we do not control that. And when Dr. Bawumia spoke, the executive arm of government just came telling the whole world, instead of going and addressing the issue, went at his persona.
So you're saying they didn't listen?
No. Went at his persona, However, the character he was speaking to did not come to say anything. That is what he talked about Setepe. But the communicator, Sobi, felt that what he was doing, it was usual banter for them to go after him, because that is their style of communicating. Rightly said by you that Dr. Butcher came back and you said it was late in the day. Yes, to another mind, yes, it was late in the day. However, they said better late than never. Once it is addressed and we all know the difficulty, we then know that, hey, this is what is before us. Let's go get it sorted out. At least it proves a point that we are not just chastising government, but we are preempting that let us do and take our steps well.
Now,
so
talking about the steps that government is taking, are you confident about the steps that government has taken now?
In fact, government just came back to us with a review. It's been a couple of positives in oil sales, and where we are not doing well, we're trying to readjust, and government has scaled down all its targets that it sets for this year. It tells you that yes, government is seeing the reality, and that for us, what we are seeing is correct, and we must keep on saying it, because when we said that it wasn't going to be easy for government to achieve its targets relating to what we call it, it's relating to the budgetary projections government have brought before us at the outset of the year. I'm positive here now that whatever government brought proves the point that when we were saying that, looking at the times that we are in, we do not believe that government will be able to achieve the set targets it has put across.
That's good for you,
of course.
So if government doesn't achieve its targets, then,
not necessarily good for,
then they'll be voted and you come into office.
Not necessarily good for us, but for the country. The reasons are that we're going to go for midterm elections. Our political calendar and the structure of our politics necessarily do not predict for us or prescribe for us to go for a partisan election. These midterm elections we're going to go for is to help galvanize our state as a unitary state, so that you have areas where you go to the local government structure. How best can we bond together as a people? Mind you, culturally, we live and love ourselves, and people say we're very hospitable. We should not depart from those notions. It must connect to whatever we do going forward.
What you talked about culturally, etc. Do you think that at the national level, when the politicians and with the media, etc., when they're taking politics, do you think that there's that level of consensus? Because it doesn't look like it.
Politics is a game that
it's a game, right?
Yes, I mean, no, it's a game. Every human endeavor is a game. I mean, because we're looking at the pluses and the minuses. But you know, politicians have a way of doing things. It's like two lawyers battling in a courthouse. At the end of the day, it's the law that is supreme. At the end of the day, it's the Constitution that is supreme. At the end of the day, with us, it is the nation that is supreme. And you know, we beg to disagree. We beg to differ on so many issues. For instance, he will say that the economic path that we're taking will result in such, and we'll say no, it won't. We'll go this way, and all that. At the end of it all, when it comes to resolution, we can say I told you so, and they can tell us I told you so. But it is not a question of the MPP wanting to win elections and the NDC wanting to lose elections. That should be the order of the day. The thing is that if you look at Clinton left the economy of the United States in a better way, but they lost the elections. All right? Bush left the economy.
But there were other factors. But do you agree when you're bringing the Clinton case?
No, seriously.
Is a clear...
no, it's not a departure, no.
It's a clear departure from the norm.
No, I'm just giving you an example. The thing is that I think that MPP would want to inherit a better economy than a bad economy if they won the election. They prefer to have a good economy.
Well, they would want to be popular among the Ghanaian population and electorate.
Look, when you have a good economy, it's not necessary that the electorate will say we've had a good economy. They will say, look, let's try this lot, because we had trouble with this. We had too many trials and tribulations with that lot. It happens. You understand? That's what a democracy is. I mean, when people tell me that my party will rule for the next 100 years, I wince, because that's not democracy. You understand? That means that the people the people are daft. They're not. The people of Ghana are not.
I get your
The
point.
thing is, so that is where I'm coming from. But the thing is that democracy is about 4 years. So when people say President Mahama should step down and all that, they're crazy. Because then that means that you're saying that the democratic system is wrong. Let him do his 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, you're going to determine whether you want him there or not.
I agree with that too.
That is what I believe in. So when it
there
comes
should be no truncation.
yes, when we're coming to work, we work. We work together. We sit down and continue saying, look, Mr. Bafo, you're wrong. And we'll argue the point. Maybe sometimes on an ideological basis, maybe based on an ethical basis, or what have you. But what is important is for us to be able to have the consensus, all right, the atmosphere of consensus, to be able to resolve some of the situation, the problems.
Well, Seth, why is it that then the population don't get you? You seem to be having some level of consensus among yourselves at many levels, but then because of perhaps the disagreements that you tend to voice out, how vociferous you are in your vituperations, as a result of that, perhaps the population seems to be getting you wrong, thinking the country is going haywire, there's crisis, or is it challenges that the party wants to call it, that's the NDC or government? So
based on what semantic you want to use. However, I'm happy what you witness here. The public is witnessing it. This is what you do back in Parliament.
Oh, there's 1 in a million. Doesn't happen all the time. I've had many arguments here on this very point.
Let me show you why it is so. There are traditions back in Parliament, depending on how you would want to sell your message and your nature and style. There are conventions, there are practices, there are traditions in every discipline of life. And when you come into what we do back in the chamber, it's like you go to court and you see 2 lawyers battling it against one another. They are the best of friends, but because it's their set job, they must do it in the traditions that has been placed over the job. And that is what we do. I come on your set. This is a subject of ensuring that we move forward as a country. That is why we are in a nature like that. However, if it was on a matter which is purely on an ideologue, you'll find us on various paths, because I will be raising points to the advantage of my idea. And definitely, Fritz will be doing the same for himself. You understand me? And that will be the point of departure. This is a subject, like he rightly said. I don't want my party to come into government when everything is collapsed. No matter the energy you put in, it is the measurables. The people will not feel it. Mind you, the public out there's expectation is like that. And you are there. It may take you 8 years to come to this level. And so no matter what you do from bottom to this level, it will never be appreciated. So you don't sit and wait for it to get there. At least you stay it at equilibrium. That is why we talk. That is why we hit at government. I will not stop that, because that is our duty. Like we always say, if we come to Parliament, we say we are paid to talk. That is what we do. We have to talk and keep talking, because the more we say it, the more we believe it will supposed to work for us. He said he was going to work for us. And the many Ghanaians, per the systems we have set for ourselves on that duty, offered him the job. So he must go to work. Look, back home, Fritz will tell you, back in our constituency, I'm the MP. I'm also being hit. I'm not just sitting here hitting the president and going scot-free. I'm also being hit back in my hood. It happens to every person. It is not only the president who is being hit. People do not want me to say I'm an opposition MP and so nothing is happening in my constituency. Something must happen. And so because I can't get it organized in my constituency, I don't need to go and sleep. I also need to come and demand for it. And that's the way I go.
Do you think that the government needs to do something about the strike on Thursday?
Look, government needs to speak to the strike. I hear government raising a moral issue with respect to the anniversary of the late former president in debating.
You think that's a diversion?
That is another opinion. That is another school of thought. It may necessarily not be mine, because this is life and this is our tradition.
What's your school of thought?
No, this is life and this is how we live it in our country. We can't throw away our traditions. We remember the past, who have passed on into other lives. We do. We celebrate them. we do it. And so it's not a departure from the norm.
So you think
however,
because of that, there should be no strike?
However, there is work to be done.
Which is striking?
Which is not necessarily striking, but to make sure that the country works. Whichever way we go about it.
Do you think there should be deliberations?
I started talking about dialoguing. I listened to the TUC General Secretary General this morning. His tone was more conciliatory.
Well, that's how he talks.
However, mind you,
he's not a type who is always...
I'll tell you something. I've been a union leader before, so I know how it is leading workers. It is just consensus building. That is the language. But when you are a leader and you are leading them, mistrust is the #1 key, because they believe that you will be influenced by your parties you are meeting with. So sometimes I sympathize with the Secretary General. However, this is organized labor.
So you are telling us that the strike will
this
go
is
on,
organized labor.
Okay.
If the strike goes on, there is a regulation. Comes back to the public order.
On Thursday,
if the public order allows them to do it, hey, they have to do it.
Well, the public order allows them, as far as we know.
Good.
Unless the police, perhaps.
Good. That's what I said. If it allows them.
Well, this will have a toll on production for Thursday and subsequently. Because for people not going to work, that's serious as it can get.
I think that the TUC are the best judges of that, because they are the producers in our economy. And if they're saying they're withdrawing their labor, they should also understand the circumstances that they may create. As I said, I'm a social democrat. I do not object to strikes, and I thought that dialogue and consensus would have been a better way. If they're going to strike, then I said the strike should be a very peaceful one. The security services are saying that they may not be able to handle it, but I think that common sense should prevail in that. That is it, really.
No, I think, like I said, government must dialogue. We take every opportunity at their disposal to dialogue and make sure that they keep the state peaceful for us. It is not my wish that they go out there to go and demonstrate. However, if that is where the dialogue has got into, nobody can stop them. It is their constitutional right, and they have to embark upon it. They must embark upon it. But at the end of the day, we'll come back. That's why I talk about dialogue. Yes, we go out there, we just demonstrate to the people. We get people incensed up, psyched up, and we go out there, we demonstrate. After the demonstration, what next? We come back to the talking table and we move on. That is why I'm emphasizing on dialogue, dialogue, dialogue. Government has the key.
You have this very deliberate way of talking. It's somewhere inherent in you. You're happy that TUC is going on strike.
This is a bit disingenuous.
Oh no, that's all right.
I think it's rather unfair.
This is so disingenuous on your part to say that I have an inherent persuasive way of appealing to the people. I mean, it is just my nature.
That's right. Well, the gentleman is Seth Champon, Member of Parliament for Impriso, a member of the MPP. Which of the committees do you belong to in Parliament?
That's my committee chairperson.
Hey, Defence and Interior.
And we work on the same committees. I'm on gender as well.
Oh, gender?
He's on gender as well. Yes, gender and children affairs.
I think it's a family thing in Parliament.
Oh, not necessarily.
The other gentleman is Fritz Baffo, and we all know Fritz Baffo. We've known him for a long time. Now he's a chieftain as far as politics is concerned in his constituency, and that very constituency is Ablekuma South. Well, thank God, Dansman is no more part of his constituency. But then before, he left it in a very good state though, and Ablekuma South is also a well-known constituency, a very difficult one, I think. Yeah, very hard to always cling to. Will you be contesting again?
We'll talk about that
when the time is.
Yeah.
Okay. Fritz Baffo, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you.